I'd like to call the, I would like to call the business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is Tuesday, April 2nd, 2019. The Portland Board of Public Education is meeting in City Hall in council chambers. May I please ask the superintendent to call the roll?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Mr. Atkinson?
Here.
Mr. Balfonts?
Here.
Ms. Bondo?
Présent.
Ms. Figdor?
Here.
Ms. Davis? Ms. Morioni?
Here.
Ms. Thompson?
Here.
Ms. Trevorrow?
Here.
Mr. Inabanza?
Here.
Mr. Norris?
Here.
Ms. Power-Rakowski? Mr. Samuntu? Mr. Abdirahman? And Chair Rodriguez.
Presente. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. For the report of the chair, I don't have very much to say tonight. I just wanted to share with the board. We just returned last night from the NSBA annual conference. Ms. Thompson, Ms. Morioni, and myself were the 3 board members who attended, and we were accompanied by 3 student reps. Our current PATH student representative, Ms. Anna Powers-Rokowski, came with us, and 2 of our student reps from last year, from Casco Bay, Tiana Ure, and from Portland High School, Isabel Clater, came along with us. I cannot begin to explain how amazing these young women were and how exciting it was to have them participate in some of the discussions and the sessions that we attended. They were by far the biggest hit of the conference. They got a chance to connect with some student reps from other parts of the country, specifically a couple of young people from Maryland and from Virginia, and it was it was amazing. It really was just really special to see these young people so confidently speak and to share their views with rooms full of adults. I envy the courage with which these young people participated in these sessions. It really was. It made me feel so proud to have advocated for them to join us, and so proud that my colleagues were excited to have them accompany us. So on April 23rd, in our next full board meeting, we'll be debriefing on our experience, and we'll be sharing some of the information that we gained at the conference, and I'm really looking forward to that because I know we all felt like it was a great conference, and we all gained a lot of important information that I believe is going to help us with the rest of the work that we're working on. Having said that, for the report of the superintendent, Mr. Botana, do you mind taking it on? Oh, I always do that. Actually, we have a student report from Deering High School. Mr. Abdirahman, if you don't mind, kick it off.
We have a lot of student achievement to report, including Deering students who have been accepted to great colleges and universities, volunteering across Portland and Maine, leading Seeds of Peace dialogues, and achieving much more. In the Maine State Science Fair, Deering has sent Vanessa Scott and Neely Hunt. It was the first time in 20 years that Deering has sent a team. They researched a gene that affects a dog's appetite. For poetry, Alan Manga, who won Maine's 2018 Poetry Out Loud competition and fought in court for the right to represent his school and state at nationals, followed that up with a second-place finish at state a few weeks ago. Alan inspiring this year's winner from Lewiston High School, along with other 2 often marginalized students, to step up and have their voices heard. Maine's Poetry Out Loud competition was more diversified than ever in 2019. Deering teachers Sarah Schmidt and seniors Kyron Kalanji, Chris Combo, and Mackenzie O'Donnell are working through senior capstones to help create a teen center in the Deering neighborhood. They are working with a local organization, Deering Center Community Church, to give Deering students safe options for a place to study and socialize after school is over for the day. Another senior capstone includes multiple students from across grade levels dialoguing with Deering staff around decolonizing the curriculum. These students appreciate where the curriculum explores global issues and historical events and movements that extend beyond a strictly European lens. They hope to have more opportunities to see a broader global focus across a variety of courses. They have met with Mr. Palmer and Curriculum Director Jesse Robinson, preparing to both meet in small groups on April 10th with teachers and to also have a panel discussion about this important issue on that during professional development time. Senior Nimco Isaac has organized a panelist event titled Diversity in Maine's Workplace that will be taking place in the Deering Auditorium on April 8th. Teachers are welcome to bring their fourth block class as part of an audience or come as individuals, and students may ask questions during the session and answer at the end. The event is designed to highlight the diverse stories of panelists who ultimately chose to establish their careers and to promote opportunities in Maine. These panelists look to help students find the path that fits them best. Much of Maine's youth leave the state, with last year's census finding a positive net migration in 13 out of Maine's 16 counties. Diversity in career path, background, and views are represented by the panel, all in hopes of serving a representation of various individuals uniting in a common goal of community and progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job. The report of the superintendent, Mr. Botana.
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. I would like to begin today by acknowledging the Bangor Savings Bank Foundation for their generous gift of $25,000 over 2 years to the Foundation for Portland Public Schools in support of capacity building. The Foundation for Portland Public Schools launched a capacity building campaign at the beginning of this fiscal year with the goal of raising $100,000 so that we could hire a second staff position to support the Foundation's work in support of PPS. This work is based on a careful analysis of what other successful education foundations and development offices in universities and private schools have put in place to sustain great fundraising year over year. Despite good work and progress, we know that in order to take best advantage of opportunities, there must be more than one dedicated staff person focused on the work. Bangor Savings Bank, with Bob Montgomery Rice at the helm, understands the significance of this investment and has risen to the occasion with incredibly generous support. With this gift, FPPS is well on its way to being able to add a position this summer, and our hope is that with the added capacity, FPPS will be able to launch a Portland Public Schools Alumni Giving Program, among other efforts. I want to thank Diane Donaldson and Jamie Berg, both from Bangor Savings Bank, who are with us this evening. Both Diane and Jamie are parents of students in our Portland Public Schools. Jamie's son is a sophomore at Deering High School, and Diane's son is a junior at Portland High School and had another son graduate from Portland High School in 2016. So thank you for the gift, and also thank you for your confidence in the Portland Public Schools. So thank you very much for being here this evening and presenting this gift to the Foundation. And for that purpose, I would like to recognize Foundation Executive Director Kate Snyder, and I'd like to thank her for her leadership in this effort, along with our Foundation members, some of whom I think I just see just Joshua is here, who are here also to support the Foundation's efforts. So, Kate, do you want to say anything?
Thank you for your summary. And yes, the Bangor Savings Foundation is very proud to support the great work that the Portland Educational Foundation is doing and the impact that it's having on the city of Portland and our school system. So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
For you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Kate Snyder. I'm the Executive Director for the Foundation for Portland Public Schools. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank Bangor Savings Bank Foundation, both to Bob Montgomery and Carol Colson for their leadership, and to Diane Donaldson and Jamie Berg for being here this evening. As the superintendent mentioned, one of the Foundation's fiscal year 2019 goals was to raise funding for capacity building. Our objective this year, as stated, has been to secure a little over $100,000 that will allow the Foundation's Board of Directors to hire a development associate for 2 years that will support critical development activities and administrative functions. This would be, after 4 years, the second position hired to support the foundation's mission to generate philanthropic support for Portland Public Schools. Why? We believe that there are many more opportunities available to Portland Public Schools in the realm of community and philanthropic support and partnerships. We believe that philanthropy can seed exciting and meaningful investments. However, without additional dedicated staff, we know that growth and sustainability have limits. Our rationale is that educational institutions benefit from institutionalized efforts to advance partnerships and philanthropy. We see it all over the place. Revenue diversification is critical to Portland Public Schools as local, state, and federal revenues become more and more volatile. And we believe there is potential for exponential growth as a result of having additional staff capacity. So many thanks to you all for recognizing Bangor Savings Bank Foundation along with me this evening, and to Bangor Savings Bank for understanding the need and supporting the work to secure meaningful philanthropic investments in Portland's public schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. I would now like to congratulate Portland Adult Education for recently being named the Community Partner of the Year by the New England Rehabilitation Hospital at their Employee Recognition Awards. In giving the award, the New England Rehabilitation Hospital noted that Portland Adult Education and their partnership with the CNA class has had a significant impact in linking the hospital to the community and supporting their mission. This award highlights the important ways in which Portland Adult Education adds value to our community day after day. And so I would like to thank all of the staff, volunteers, and supporters of Portland Adult Education for making it the vibrant institution that it is. Speaking of awards, I was honored to have the opportunity to join the Veterans of Foreign Wars Deering Post 6859 this past Sunday. The VFW conducts an annual set of student essay contests and awards called Patriot Pen and Voice of Democracy, and gives a Teacher of the Year award. Among this year's honorees were Lyman Moore teacher David Hilton in the Teacher of the Year category, and our very own, sitting in front of me right there, Joseph Inabanza, who was a runner-up in the Voice of Democracy category with his essay that was in response to the question prompt, "Why does my vote matter?" And Joseph, you're going to read that for us one of these days. Congratulations to Mr. Inabanza and to Mr. Hilton for their awards, and thank you very much to the VFW Post for their partnership with Portland Public Schools and for their service to our nation and community. We have a special meeting next week to approve the 2020 budget, and because it's a one agenda item, I won't be making a report, so I would like to wish our students, families, and staff a great April break. School will be out beginning on Friday, April 12th, and will resume on Monday, April 22nd. Safe travels if you're leaving town, and if you're staying locally, let's hope that the weather cooperates to make it a true spring break, not a Maine spring break. In the traveling out of town category, happy travels to the Casco Bay Junior class as they head off to Millinocket for this year's junior journey, which starts this coming Saturday. Each year, as many of you know, Casco Bay High School 11th graders go on a one-week cross-cultural learning experience to expand students' sense of the world and who they are through service and adventure learning. This year, students are headed back to the Katahdin region, where they will perform community service and conduct an ecological investigation of the region. Excuse me. Students will reflect on each of their personal roles as actors in an ecosystem, building a foundation to think deeply about personal relationships with the land by exploring how communities are adapting to life after changes in the paper industry, and bear witness to the incredible outdoor beauty of the Katahdin region. CBHS juniors will be partnering with Our Katahdin, a local nonprofit, to renovate a large abandoned building in downtown Millinocket and make it into a community meeting space. Casco Bay students will celebrate a partnership with Stearns High School in Millinocket with a screening of the documentary that last year's Casco Bay students made on their first junior journey to Millinocket, which is titled 199 Miles, Stories from the Katahdin Region, which, by the way, will also be shown on Maine Public Television as part of the Community Film Services series, on April 11th at 10 p.m. and on April April 13th at 11 a.m. I personally know at least one junior from Casco Bay who's excited to be a part of this annual Casco Bay tradition. I would like to remind students and families that our final Parent University offering for the year will take place this coming Wednesday, April 10th at 6:30 p.m. at Lincoln Middle School. The event is entitled How to Start a Healthy Conversation on Sexuality with Your Child. And this will be an opportunity to learn about the research, the imperatives, and the resources available for talking with preteens and teens about sex, healthy sexuality, and relationships. Our very own board member, Marnie Morioni, will moderate the panel presentation at that session. As you will see on the agenda, we have two first reads. The first one will be on our 2020 budget, and we will also have a workshop on that after the meeting. We will also have a first reading on the staff use of social media policy, and we will have a workshop on that as well. On that last issue, as with any policy proposal, the staff social media use policy has been reviewed and approved by the policy committee prior to coming to the board. As with all committee work, it is meant to signal to the board that this is a well-thought-out and carefully vetted plan. But as with anything coming before the board, it is important that all board members understand it fully and have an opportunity to ask questions and help to shape it for eventual passage. The second reading and vote on this policy is expected on April 23rd, so there is ample time between today and that date for any concerns that you might have to be raised and addressed. I would be more than happy to meet individually with any board member who has concerns prior to the second reading, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, we will have a workshop tonight, and hopefully you'll have an opportunity to go a little bit deeper into the policy. Okay, next, I would like to transition to a brief conversation about renaming one of our schools after a distinguished Portlander, former State Board of Education President and State Representative Gerald Talbot. On February 1st, you'll recall we received a letter from Mayor Strimling, signed by all 9 members of the Portland City Council, asking that the board rename one of our elementary schools after Gerald E. Talbot. Let me read from the letter, which is in your packet, to familiarize those who may be listening at home and haven't had a chance to read it, or those who are not familiar with Gerald Talbot's work. Mr. Talbot served in the United States military from 1953 to 1956. He successfully helped to lead efforts to pass the Maine Fair Housing Bill, the Maine Human Rights Act, and establish the Maine Human Rights Commission. He challenged racial discrimination practices in Portland's rental housing market 3 times through the courts, and with that, it led to reform. He helped to revive the Portland chapter of the NAACP in 1964, and he became its first president and served 4 terms as its leader. He was appointed as the first African American to chair the Maine State Board of Education, and he was elected as the first African American to the Maine State Legislature, and he served for 3 terms and used his position to fight for the rights of migrant workers, sponsor the first gay rights bill, lead efforts for gun control, tribal sovereignty, fair housing, equal employment opportunities, and health care. He also championed and led the effort to create a holiday honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. before it became a federal holiday. And so there are many other accomplishments that Mr. Talbot has had over the years, and those were in the letter that is in front of you. In talking through this item with Board Chair Rodriguez, he asked me to evaluate what is required in order to make a name change in our buildings. And so I've reviewed our policy and past practice and discussed with staff and council, and so this is what I would suggest. Board Policy FF, which is also in your packet, outlines the procedure that the board is to follow in renaming a school facility, which in general includes 1, some form of public notice, 2, some school board review, and then 3, school board formal action at a public meeting. The policy, if you read it, you'll see generally contemplates a somewhat different situation where the board is actually evaluating different names for a location, whereas obviously in this instance, you're being asked to identify a location for a specific name. The first situation, the one that's more sort of in tune with what the policy stands for as written, is what we had last year. As you recall, when the board voted to rename the Hall Elementary School as Amanda C. Rowe. At that time, a committee was formed, names were sought, and they were evaluated. The public was involved in a hearing process, and a recommendation came forward to the board, and you acted on it. You may recall as well that this fall, the board was asked to consider renaming King Middle School after Martin Luther King Jr., and at that time, the board asked us to survey students and staff to see if there was an interest in this move, and the general response, if you'll recall from our workshop, was somewhat uneven, and so the proposal was tabled. So in this instance, for the renaming of one of our elementary buildings after Jerry Talbot, my recommendation to the board is that you review that you institute a review process that includes the following. First, a formal action on the part of the board to determine that you do indeed want to name a facility for Representative Talbot. Then 2, that you appoint a review panel as described in the policy. So the policy is pretty broad about that. It can be a single board member, it can be the entire board. So that is within the purview of the chair to make a decision around that. And then that the review panel develop criteria to evaluate schools that could be renamed for Representative Talbot, and then review existing schools against those options and come back to the board with recommendations for then obviously for a formal action in keeping with the specifics within the board policy. So I would be happy to discuss these next steps with any of you, and we'll work with Chair Rodriguez to put together a process based on those recommendations. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent. Excuse me. For the report of the Secretary, consideration and action to approve the minutes of the meeting of March 19th, 2019. Is there a motion? Mr. Balfan, second by Mr. Atkinson. Any questions on the motion? Ms. Victor?
I just had 2 spelling corrections. My name is misspelled twice in the minutes. Just for simplicity's sake, it is Fig Door. It's actually quite easy.
We'll try to get that.
Fig Door, just 1 O in door. So I can point out where in the minutes it's
Please.
misspelled, but it's up at the...
We'll find it.
Okay,
Ms. Victor.
great.
I apologize.
Thank you, no problem.
Thank you, Ms. Victor. By the way, Ms. Victor had to correct me a couple of times for transposing a couple of letters of her name, so I apologize that it's happened more than once for you. Trust me, I know what it feels like. Any other questions on the motion? Seeing none, any public comment on the motion? Seeing none, any board discussion? None. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the meeting of March 19th, 2019, please indicate. It's unanimous with the students voting in favor as well. Thank you. There's no report of the committees tonight. Consent items. Will the superintendent please speak on the consent items?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Under Board Policy KCD, the school board accepts by unanimous consent contributions made to the school district. As required by that policy, all of the donations are listed in the board memo accompanying this item, and as has been the practice, each donor will receive a written contribution acknowledgement expressing our heartfelt gratitude as well as for their tax purposes. I would like to thank the many generous contributors to the Portland Public Schools who have made donations of durable goods, goods of substantial value, and historical or commemorative significance. And the contributors for this meeting are for Portland High School. They received a donation to support extended learning opportunities from the BUP Charitable Trust of Falmouth, as well as from Evergreen Credit Union of Portland. And East End Community School received donations from both Scott and Mary Beth Morrison of New Sharon, as well as Janice Ann Parker of Portland, to purchase clothing for Miss Dee's clothing closet. So I would again like to extend my heartfelt thanks to those parties for their contributions.
Thank you, Superintendent. Tonight, we don't have any items on the board focused on educational issues, and we also do not have any items on old business. For new business, we have a first read to approve the FY20 budget in the amount of $117,833,270. And we also have a first read to approve the policy GBEEA, use of social media by school staff. There's no comments on first reads. No personal items. And given that it's before the hour of 10 p.m., is there any public comment on items not on this evening's agenda? Please come up to the podium. If you don't mind giving us your name once again, although we all are very familiar with you. You'll have 3 minutes.
All right. So Kathy Markey Gerard again, Assistant Principal at Portland High School. I just wanted to expand a little bit on my comments that were really focused on the board earlier. I just want to say a personal thank you. I am retiring this year after 36 years in education, 17 of which have been with the Portland Public Schools. I've spent the last 10 years in Portland, and it's been a great way to end the career. It's one of those things when you start way back when, for me it was way back when, it seems like it won't get here. But then when you look back on the body of work that you've done and the opportunities that you've had to make a difference and to work collaboratively with a group. And I can't say that in my entire career I am more pleased and confident to leave this district in the state it's in. You have been an incredible group of people to work with. The leadership that you've shown, as I said, over the last 10 years is really heartwarming. And it is great to see all my career end in a place that you get it. You get kids, you get staff, you get resources, you get the hard decisions that need to be made. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and want you to know it's much easier leaving and retiring after 36 years because I'm confident that the work will continue. And hopefully at some point I'll continue to be part of it, whether I'm mentoring or being involved in other places about those things that I'm passionate about. But again, thank you for all your efforts. Thank you for your support as me as an individual and an administrator in this district, and on behalf of the other administrators. You truly are making a difference in the lives of the many, and your inclusion of all voices and all perspectives have changed, and it is really, as I can't say it enough, it's heartwarming, and it's going to carry you well in the future. And on behalf of all kids, on behalf of this one pretty blessed administrator, again, thank you so much for everything that you've given me and for what you're doing for this district. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those kind words. You will be incredibly missed, and you have no idea how much, at least I needed to hear you say that. Really appreciate it.
And Kathy, I would like to echo that, and we're not done with you. So, we will have an opportunity to talk more about your amazing contributions to the district when we do our formal retirement celebration at the end of the year. But, as you know, I'm honored to have been able to work with you closely as an assistant principal at Portland High School, but also as the leader of the PAA, and you've been a tremendous partner, thought partner, through hard decisions, through lots of different things. So I'm very, very grateful for everything that you've given.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn the business meeting? Ms. Trevorrow, second by Ms. Fick-Dorr. With 1-0. All those in favor, please. It's unanimous with the students voting in favor as well. Thank you.